What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more acid trance, and I'm back to redo a reaction from my old channel. There's a couple reasons I'm going to do this, although in this case it's more specific to the particular video that I'm redoing. But part of the reason is the videos that came from my old channel, which is to say, I never knew I was going to have to change channels, so I was just uploading stuff onto my old account and then deleting the files from my computer. And then YouTube informed me that, oh, you have to, leave this account because it's linked to an old alumni email that won't have access to YouTube anymore. So I had to download all my old videos, and when I did that, I realized that YouTube had compressed them, both in terms of the audio and the video. I don't think it's terrible, but, I can sort of notice the difference a little bit, and so there are some reactions that happen so kind of good and right in the moment that I don't want to redo them. I think it was just, it happened in a good way, and I'm going to leave it at that. But there were some other videos that, as I've gone and looked at the old catalog of videos, that were just way too long, and this was a perfect example. This one, it's an acid-trance tune from the mid-90s, I think it's from 96, so it's like 7.5, 8 minutes long, but the video was like 27 minutes. It's crazy, and I think there is a little bit to talk about, as you'll see, but it's not going to be anywhere near that long. I'm going to try to keep it more concise. So basically, Pablo Gargano, one of my all-time favorite producers, born and raised in Italy, moved to Northern Ireland where he met this guy named Simon, started producing hard trance in the early 90s, and was a resident at this club called Hellraiser in, I think, Belfast. And then eventually they decided to go to London and they had to start all over, build a new studio and so on, but then they started Eve Records. His first couple releases were like on Rabbit City, and I'm trying to remember the name, there was another label that he put out a record on, but then they went to London, started Eve Records in the name of Simon Eve, the guy that he had met, and it basically served as a vehicle for his releases. And for me, the real sweet spot for Pablo begins around 95, goes to about 99, maybe even more, particularly 96 to 98. He literally did not make a tune during that period that is not excellent. After 99, he went a little more progressive, a little more melodic, a little more slow. As I mentioned on Discogs, I think even his tunes in that idiom, even if they went away from kind of what drew me to his hard trance and acid trance in the first place, they still had great atmosphere and production qualities. Around 2005, I want to say he stopped producing. Eventually, he's done some sets, I think, in more recent years. I remember a few years back seeing a thing like Pablo Gargano birthday DJ set. So I think he's still around, and I think maybe he still does some DJ work, but I don't think he produces anymore. But as I mentioned on Discogs and in other video reactions I've done, he's a contender for my favorite producer ever, certainly up on that top level. I mentioned Geezer a lot when I talk about acid techno and dub techno and so on, that he is arguably my favorite producer. Well, Pablo Gargano is in the same conversation. They're walking different avenues, acid trance, acid techno, although I know Geezer has made some acid trance. But yeah, Pablo Gargano is as good as it gets for me, any era, any genre. And this tune is one of my very favorites. Now, there's a couple others from my old channel that I don't think need to be redone, and after I upload this video, I'm going to get those two up, because these three tunes represent three of my very favorites from Pablo, who is one of my very favorite producers. The one we're going to listen to is On a Deep Tip, maybe first among equals among all my favorite Gargano tunes, but the other two I'm going to upload, Headlines and The Ultimate Frontier, both excellent, both a little bit harder and rougher, whereas this one, it starts, a typical driving hard trance, typical acid work from Pablo and so on, but by the end of the tune it becomes very emotional and personal and soaring. So this one, maybe first among equals, but whatever you say, it's an absolute masterpiece. Let me just check the year really quick before we start. Okay, so this release, I do think yes, it is 96. Let me just make sure. Yeah, okay, so it's 96, it's E5. Let me just show you the record really quickly. This is the record. It's in a sleeve that's unrelated, because the original sleeve I got it in wasn't in great shape. But I can show you another Eve release just so you can see the typical classic blue Eve record sleeve. So yeah, so here we go. This is On a Deep Tip by Pablo Gargano on Eve Records, 1996. like someone dropped a coin and it's like rattling down the street. And now that percussive element that is in the place where normally a clap or a snare would be, but it's like, it was like hitting like a small wood block or something. Now that rolling bass line, gurgling. Acid bass. It's not Goa, but shout out to Goa. Those vocal synths are very mid-90s. In a way, I think it like sort of places the track temporally, but it doesn't date it in that way. I don't think it's bad, I just think it sounds like 90s trance. And there's that rattling, it's like rattling up and down. Cleans up. Got the Goa vocal repeating now. Now a second like vocal synth layer. That little, it sounds like a plastic coin. It doesn't sound fully metallic. With that drop and like roll down the road sound. Still there, you can hear it buried under everything. By the way, the like violin strings. And then a beautiful little tone melody is gonna walk into the track. Collection of sounds. It's like this hard grinding synth that's trying to become more forceful in the tune. But you had that melody sort of like gracefully taking us through the breakdown. Goa. More frenetic, like gritty feel in this section. But before you know it, that sort of violin atmosphere is going to come back in, along with the vocal synths. Strip down interlude, sense of anticipation, we're about to get a shift. And it is a shift. Suddenly has a more serious sound, driving. But also like it's beginning to expand. Cosmic acid inflation. And now the acid and the emotion just soar. I think the first time I heard this was one of those moments where like I had to like not stop dancing, but kind of like, oh my god, like, did you hear this? I went up into my headspace, like, started thinking about my life and the people in it. Hard, like, kind of grinding feel on the way back out. Soon to be joined, though, by that atmospheric violin pad. I don't know if it's technically a pad. It's like a forceful, driving, yet emotional, and even like a little bit pensive sort of a tune. It's just a work of art. Acid trance art by one of the true greats. You know, it did make me think, just at the end there, and I was thinking about, like, you know, the emotional character of the tune. You know, Commander Tom Ware just passed away, R.I.P. to him and his great tunes, not only under the Commander Tom name, but also as part of Mandala and Nexus 6. It occurred to me, you know, people are rightly, I think, talking about and celebrating his tunes. I did a new reaction to one of his tunes, as well as posting an older one, like I had reacted to his RMI like a while ago. But it occurs to me, you know, a lot of these great trance artists are still around. You know, I mentioned Michael Kors has come back, he's making some tunes again, and Nothing Could Make Me Happier. And even though they're maybe not exactly the sound of tunes he was making in 96 and 97, they are hard trance, they do have acid, they do, in a way, capture that old sort of feel of his tunes. So I just want to celebrate some hard trance and acid trance legends who are still around, and, you know, at least in some cases still play sets and so on. So that, yeah, like, R.I.P. Commander Tom, and let's celebrate his tunes, but let's also talk about tunes from people who are still around and could still, you know, appreciate people supporting their tunes from back in the day. So yeah, big ups to Pablo Gargano. Don't know if he'll ever get back to making tunes like someone like Kors is doing recently, but even if not, you know, his legacy is well secure, and he will always be one of my favorite producers, you know, bar none. So yeah, let me know what you think of this track. Let me know that another one on this, One Time, is also fantastic as well. I mean, again, during this period, there's no tune Pablo made that isn't great. Like, I'm not even gonna say it's like, oh, he didn't make a bad tune. He didn't make a not great tune during this phase. And like I said, even his earlier stuff, which, you know, stuff on Rabbit City has a bit raw of a sound to me. It's not quite as developed as the stuff that would come later on Eve and Telica. But absolutely, you could tell that the formula was already there. So big ups to him. Let me know what you think. Let me know if there's another Pablo tune you'd like to hear reacted to, or another Eve tune. Most of which in the first 20-25 are Pablo, or in a few cases David Craig. After that, they begin to be a little more diverse. As I mentioned on my old channel, there's a Steve Gibbs tune that I reacted to. So yeah, we'll do some more Eve, but let me know if there's one in particular you'd like to hear. Other than that, thank you for listening and watching. I do appreciate it. Have a good day, have a good night, and I will see you next time. Peace.